Hi, this is Michal Bardavid. We're in Astana, Kazakhstan right now. The Astana Finance Days are taking place. There are lots of experts and global business leaders here in Astana to participate in this massive event where a lot of discussions are taking place regarding the economy. Now, we're going to be discussing all of what's happening here in the Astana Finance Days here with Mr. Stephen Glynn from the AFSA. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be here.
Can you first introduce yourself so our viewers knew who we're talking to?
All right, I'm the Chief Executive of the Astana Financial Services Authority, which is the independent regulator of the newly developed Astana International Financial Center.
Perfect. So, the main topic right now on the agenda is basically Astana striving to become a financial hub, a global financial hub. First of all, what's the atmosphere like here during the last couple of days?
Well, in honest, it's been sensational. There's a huge buzz around Astana. There's a lot of invited guests who have come in to experience this event, to see what the AFSA is about and what the AIFC is all about. So there's a great deal of excitement in Astana at the present time.
That sounds fantastic, and that's exactly what I've been feeling as well. Whoever we've been talking to, it seems that they're excited to talk to you, they're excited to give you their opinion and try to have a discussion with you. So let's begin with Astana and Kazakhstan and whether or not it does have the potential to become a financial hub. What is the preparation?
Well, it's a challenging endeavour, but Kazakhstan in particular has wonderful opportunity. If we look at the geographic proximity of Kazakhstan to the rest of the world, it is certainly well placed to benefit from that. To the east, it has very large populations in China, of course to the north, Russia, and of course to the south, a huge block of Central Asian countries which are also very highly populated. Kazakhstan itself has a population of some 17 million people, so there are wonderful opportunities to benefit from these economic drivers. In addition to that, Kazakhstan is also a resource-based economy, and there are enormous development opportunities in the commodities sector.
I think that's also one of the key strengths of Kazakhstan, the resources that it does have that it could actually put into play here. So let's begin with what they've been launching right now, the AIFC, the Astana International Financial Center. Tell us about it and why it's important. Why is it happening now, and what is the strength of this?
Well, as I said, Kazakhstan has a huge resource base, but the International Center provides Kazakhstan with an opportunity to diversify the economy away from resources, but also the centre will provide support to the development of the resources sector because the financial sector will certainly support and develop that, particularly with the growth of the capital market and the opportunity that arise out of privatisation programs, and for those who are engaged in developing the extraction industries, there are opportunities for them to seek capital, investment capital, international capital from our new exchange, the Astana International Exchange. We also have developed a corporate governance framework that's the equivalent of any other international jurisdiction in the world. The Astana Financial Services Authority will be the registrar of companies, and a bit like the Australian Securities and Investments Commission in Australia, the Astana Financial Services Authority will be a corporate regulator, a financial services regulator, and a capital markets regulator as well.
And it seems to me, I mean, from a reporter's point of view, that a lot of investors are really looking into regulators. I mean, I think that's the key for them when they're trying to see whether or not there's a potential there to go there. So how important is the AFSA, and what are you doing in terms of giving insurance and giving assurances for global investors?
Well, it's critically important, and the word that you just used, assurance, is the word that investors are looking for. They want to be assured that the legal and regulatory framework that is in place is sound. They want to ensure that the legal and regulatory framework provides legal certainty. So our role is to provide and to inspire confidence in the financial services industry and the sectors that support all the other industries in Kazakhstan.
And for example, you mentioned the AIX, and that's a very important, critical part of it. First of all, let's give some more information about it. I think there are partnerships with the Nasdaq, there's partnership with the Shanghai Stock Exchange. So it seems they're creating a strong base to draw foreigners, first of all. Tell us about that, please.
Yes, well, the AIX is recently been licensed by the authority, the Financial Services Authority, to provide capital market services within the AIFC. It will be a strategic part of the government's privatisation program, and the government has announced here over the last couple of days its intention to privatise several of its key assets over the next 3 years, so we're really looking forward to that. We're certainly hoping that the AIX will benefit from that privatisation program, in that we're hoping that the issuers of securities will list their securities on the AIX, and it's also an opportunity for the citizens of Kazakhstan to benefit from the wealth or share in the wealth of Kazakhstan through this privatisation program. So it's a very unique opportunity, and the government has lofty ambitions to share that wealth with its citizens and community.
And what about the fact that it's going to be operated under the principle of English law? I think that's also key.
Yes, it is. The English common law is used in 44 jurisdictions around the world, so it has familiarity. So all the large jurisdictions around the world have adopted the English common law, and that's why the English common law framework has been adopted for the centre. We've also established a common law court headed by the former Chief Justice of the UK, Lord Wolfe. There are 9 other distinguished justices from the UK who will be presiding over that court as well. And additionally, a arbitration centre has been developed within the International Financial Center, because there are those parties who would try to avoid litigation, costly litigation through court, and would prefer to have their settlements settled in arbitration in a less costly and a less adversarial manner.
So it does seem like that they've created the atmosphere, at least in terms of laws, to make a strong and confident place for global players. What about the potentials? What industries are there that investors can come and seek to invest?
All right, well, I'll just comment upon the laws that we have in place first of all. The most important thing in the development of an international financial centre is the development of the legal and regulatory framework.
Right.
We must get that right, because that will underpin confidence generally. Now, we have developed a legal and regulatory framework based on international standards, and what that means is we've adopted the standards that have been set by the international standard setting bodies, for example, the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, the International Organisation of Securities Commissions, who set the principles for securities regulations, and then we've got the IAIS, who set the principles for insurance. We also have the Islamic standards, financial standards that we've adopted, international financial reporting standards and international audit standards. So that's the framework that we've adopted that we believe will inspire the confidence that's needed for the financial centre to grow and develop. And in addition to that, it'll also provide our counterparties in other parts of the world with that confidence, because they're operating on the same standards.
Right. It's speaking the same language and creating a solid base.
Absolutely, yes, that's what it's all about.
And so what about the potential industries that are open for investment?
All right, well, the Financial Services Authority is, as I said earlier, is not just a financial services regulator, we're also a companies regulator. So we offer 2 platforms, one for financial services, which we expect to grow on an evolutionary basis, but we also offer a platform for non-financial services companies, which will support a whole range of industries right throughout all of Kazakhstan. So we believe we've established a company's regulatory framework with a flexible variety of corporate structures, corporate vehicles, partnerships, and soon trusts that will enable industries to identify the AIFC as the location for establishing their institutions. They'll also benefit from the fact that because we're a common law jurisdiction, they can have their contracts signed within the centre, okay, under English common law principles. And then, of course, if there's any disputes in relation to those contracts, they can settle those disputes within the court and the arbitration centre. So there's a holistic approach that's been developed and a holistic model that provides a full range of services, whether they be financial services or non-financial services.
Wow, that seems like the system is really prepared for this. Is this the vision of the government that's really pushed it this way? How come this vision is really set in this framework?
Well, it's really been the vision of the President of Kazakhstan. He's announced the 100 concrete steps that he wishes to take in order to implement the institutional reforms, the 5 institutional reforms that he's referred to, and the development of the International Financial Center will enable him and the government and us to deliver on those institutional reforms.
And I think that's completely necessary for the government's backing in order to this kind of a huge project to actually be successful.
Well, it's going to require the backing of not only the government, but all of the agencies, all the ministries, but also the business community and the consumers and investors themselves, because when the privatisation program starts, there'll be opportunities for investors, the mums and dads of Kazakhstan, to invest in the wealth of Kazakhstan. And if they seize the opportunity, they will benefit from that. So they need to embrace what's being offered here by the International Financial Center and take advantage of that.
And when you say that, because we're also a Chinese channel, of course I'm thinking about China and Chinese investments, which are of course very significant here in Kazakhstan. For example, the One Belt, One Road initiative is also very critical for Kazakhstan. It's a big part of it. Tell us how you think that can also be supportive of your project.
Well, Kazakhstan sits right in the middle of the Silk Road, so it can only but benefit from these arrangements. It's geographically well situated. We also have very solid support from the Chinese government and businesses. As you know, the Shanghai Stock Exchange has already invested in the Astana International Exchange. We've been, in fact, immediately after this interview, I'll be speaking with other financial institutions from China who want to invest and locate themselves within the financial centre. We already have 2 Hong Kong brokers who have been licensed by us to carry out brokerage activities on the exchange. So it's a very good story that we're able to tell so early in the development of the financial centre.
Gives it like a springboard, I think, in a way, a boost of the economy in that sense.
Yes, well, normally the development of these centres, as I said, is an evolutionary process. We shouldn't expect an immediate revolution, but we're seeing very good inflows from interested parties, and it bodes well for the future.
What about some of the challenges that they may face as this project comes about?
Well, I think the major challenge is patience. I think everyone needs to be patient and not expect immediate results, and there will be some immediate results, of course, but we're developing an international financial centre from scratch. That means in the last 12 months we've drafted over 30 pieces of legislation. Today the board of the AFSA approved some fintech regulations to assist in the development of the fintech industry here that we're trying to promote. And we also passed and approved the banking regulations today and the whole banking framework for the AIFC. So this is just new legislation that's, been made available today, and it'll take some time for all this to be understood and implemented. So I would ask for patience, but I'd also ask them to embrace the new legislation as well. For the international players, when they see the legislation, particularly the banking framework, they'll see similarities with their own framework because the framework has been developed on the Basel principles. In the area of fintech, we have some new innovative arrangements that we've put in place to encourage fintech industries. We also have developed a fintech regulatory sandbox within the AIFC, and what that does is enable those parties who want to promote innovative technologies relating to the financial services industry to trial those new products and services within the sandbox, within a limited range of functions so that we can protect consumers. And once they test, and we are happy with the testing arrangements and we are satisfied that their products are sound and that consumers are going to be protected, then we'll elevate them into a full financial services license where they will have access to the entire market.
That sounds good. And when we were talking about challenges when we came to this question, but actually coming late into the market can also be an advantage because you have so much other platforms to learn from. For example, that's why maybe they're taking advantage of the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Is this also a way to kind of learn from their mistakes and kind of, I don't know, the timing could be beneficial in terms of being late?
The timing certainly is beneficial. There are 3 other international financial centres that have been developed in the Middle East over the last 14, 15 years. And we've been learning from those developments. In fact, for 13 of those years, I've been involved in the development of the Dubai International Financial Center. So we have learned a lot from that development. We've looked at the legislation and we've looked at those aspects of the legislation that we think works best in international centres such as ourselves. We've also looked to those communities who are likely to embrace this international centre, including Europe, and we've adopted some of the framework there that we think would work best. So there's a lot of learning to be taken from those experiences in the Middle East and elsewhere.
And you mentioned just a little bit earlier about fintech and innovations and the potentials for creativity, I guess, in a sense. What about cryptocurrencies? Is that also part of it?
It is. In fact, the framework that we've recently approved, today, is the development of and the regulation of cryptocurrency exchanges.
Okay.
So the only other jurisdiction doing that at the present time is Japan. And so we've provided an opportunity for exchanges, crypto exchanges, to be licensed and regulated within the financial centre. They can do that initially as part of the sandbox activities on a limited basis, on a limited scale, and then once they test their systems, and as I said, as long as we're happy with the consumer protection arrangements that are in place, they can then mature and elevate into a full-fledged financial services offering.
That seems to me like it's like catching the younger generation as well in terms of investments. I don't know, is that a potential also?
Yes, it is, because Kazakhstan here, there's a very young consumer base who are embracing these new technologies, and our objectives are trying to capture some of that base. We're able to do that in quite a flexible way because within the centre we can write and develop and approve our own legislation without having to rely upon the Majlis or the Parliament to approve that for us. So we can be quite dynamic in our approach, and we can respond to market pressures and market requests. So and that's what we've done in the development of this fintech legislation, is respond to the market and provide a vehicle, a legislative vehicle for the fintech to flourish within the AIFC.
Seems like there's a lot of potential here for a lot of different aspects and growth, in both for young and for other generations, but also markets from all over the world. Now, one last question. So you've been living here for the last 12 months. What's it like to live in Kazakhstan for a foreigner?
All right. Well, I immigrated from Dubai, from the Middle East. So I've come from one of the hottest jurisdictions in the world to one of the coldest places, and I think I've acclimatized well. And it was a challenging winter, but I've really been enjoying the summer, and I think it's a fantastic place to live. And Astana's doing some wonderful things. They have a green initiative, and there's a new botanical gardens being developed just down the road, and it looks fantastic. And another park just close by. So I spend a lot of my weekends running through that park. So I've been enjoying the environment.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So that was the end of our conversation, but it's a wonderful atmosphere here at the Astana Finance Days. We're going to give you more updates regarding the developments with Kazakhstan as it is striving to become a new financial hub. Thank you for watching.